Hi, I'm Jo from JHLeather, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create your own notebook cover. Let's get started. So this method works with pretty much any notebook. So what we're going to do to start with is grab our notebook and then measure the length of it. From that, we're going to add 3/4 of an inch or 20 millimeters, and we're going to grab our leather, which I recommend you use 1.5 millimeter veg tan for this, and we're going to cut a straight edge on that. Once we've done that, we're then going to mark that size that we got earlier. So for me, that is 6 3/4 inches, and we're going to cut a strip of leather. Once we've cut our strip of leather, we can then square one end, and then what we're going to do is cut 2 retaining straps. Now these can be whatever size you like. For me, I am choosing to do 2 1/4 inches wide. Once you have those cut out, we're going to measure 3/8 of an inch in from the edge of the leather and hold our notebook nice and tight up to that. And we're going to wrap our leather really tight and really snug around our notebook. So to get the overall measurement for how wide this bit of leather needs to be, we can then mark where the notebook finishes and add 3/8 of an inch to that. And then we can cut that square. So when it comes to closure fittings for your notebook, there are a few that you can choose from. So this is a Sam Brown stud where you would punch a hole in a point strap to get that to close. You can also use a popper closure, some magnets, or like I have done on this one, you can put a loop into the front of your cover. So I'm going to go with the magnets for this build, and what we're going to do first is measure the magnet. So you can see that is about 5/8 of an inch wide, so I want my strap to be a lot wider than that so I can fit my stitching in. So therefore I have cut a 1 inch wide strap, and I'm now going to cut a point on the end. So I'm making a bridle point here, which is 1 1/8 inches long, and it is 1/8 of an inch in from the edge on both sides. And then I'm just going to follow that with my knife. And then once you've done that, you can nick the corners of the point. So now I'm going to work out where I want that magnet to be. So I'm going to hold my point strap on where I want that to be, and then from there I can work out where my magnet can go. And so what I've done is chosen 1 1/4 inches in from the edge, and I'm just going to even that up and make sure that that is in the middle. Now we know where the middle is, we can then mark out the 2 slots for the legs of our magnet. And we're going to do the same on the point strap. So we want to have enough room that we can easily pull that point strap off, but not too much that there is a big flappy end. Once you've done all that, we can then start to edge our work. So on the 2 retaining strips, we're going to edge all the way around on the grain side. And then on the flesh side, we're going to edge along one of the long sides only. On the main cover, we can edge all the way around the grain side. And then on the flesh side, we're going to mark where the 2 retaining straps are going to go. And then we will edge on the flesh side in between those 2 points. On the point strap, we can edge all the way around the grain side. And now, as I'm using veg tan leather, I'm going to stain the edges of my pieces that I've cut out now. I'm also going to give them some polishing. And then I'm going to use a hot crease and crease around all the pieces that I have cut out. So I'm now going to cut the slots in the point strap for my magnet to go in. And for this, I'm using a sharpened screwdriver. And once you've done that, you can then fit the magnet in place. So we now want to cut this down to a rough size. So what we're going to do is hold this around our notebook with our notebook in the case, and we can mark just back from where the point strap fits into the case. And then we're going to mark about an inch further back from there, and we will cut that flush. Now we've done that, what I'm going to do is actually line this point, because obviously we don't want the yucky magnet to be sticking out. So for that, I'm just gluing on some more 1.5mm veg-tanned leather. And once you have that glued on, you can then trim the excess off of the backing that we have just placed on. And then we're going to edge all the way around this pointer strap, and we're also going to do some finishing touches to this. So we're going to restain and recrease and do some polishing at this point, because it's easier to do it now than when it's on the actual case. So we can now fit the magnet into the main notebook cover. And then to protect the notebook from the back of that magnet, we're going to use some 0.7mm leather and just glue a patch over the back of it. And all this is going to do is stop the magnet from scratching the notebooks that go into the cover. So we can now start marking out for our stitch marking. So what we're going to do is hold one of our retaining straps up, and we're going to mark the 2 points onto our cover. And then using our dividers, we're going to draw a line between those points. And we'll do this on both sides. We can then use the dividers and go all the way around our point strap. And we're going to mark this on the top side, so the side where the magnet isn't sticking out. And then we can start doing some stitch marking. So what we're going to do first is finish this point. So we can stitch mark all the way around that. And if you want to stitch mark all the way through, you can do that, it's not a problem. So now we've got that stitch marked, what we're going to do is double hand or saddle stitch that all the way around. So for my stitch marker, I use 3.38mm irons, and I'm using a 0.5mm thread. So you should now have something that looks a little bit like this, and we can start putting our main notebook cover together. So what we're going to do first is glue in one of our straps onto the side with the magnet. Now we're going to make sure that we don't put any glue on that edged side of the retaining strip, and have that so that faces into the case. So by having that edge strap facing inwards, that's going to help our notebook go into the cover a bit easier. Once we've done that, we can then stitch mark this side of our cover. And then we are going to double hand or saddle stitch this in place. And we're going to start with 2 back stitches, and we're going to finish with 1.5 back stitches. That way they're both going to match. Now, if you are new to Leathercraft, I have a video all about hand stitching, which I will link in the description below, as well as put a link in the corner right about now. And now, as I'm using linen thread, once I have finished stitching and cut the ends of my thread off, I'm going to use some PVA glue and just put some little glue, little dab on the back of the sort of 1.5 cut off back stitches that I've done, and that's just going to secure the threads. Now we've done that, we can use a bone folder and we're just going to remove any excess glue from that seam. And we can then put our notebook in that half of our cover. So what we're going to do is mark where the point strap meets the edge of our notebook, and we're just going to mark where that is with our fingernail. Once we've done that, we can then mark about 1/4 inch further to the end, and then we can skive that point strap down to nothing. Now this is going to be glued and then stitched in, so if you end up cutting off some stitches here, that's not a problem, it won't affect the point strap. And as you can see, this is skived down to nothing, so there won't be any bumps underneath where that gets glued in. And we can then glue that into the cover. So I've gone ahead and marked the middle of my cover here, so I know where to glue that in. And now we've done that, we can glue the second of our retaining straps into the cover. And then what we're going to do is use our stitch marker and stitch mark all the way around that part of our case. And now we can double hand or saddle stitch that together. And again, we're going to start with 2 back stitches and finish with 1.5 back stitches. So once we have finished stitching, we're going to use our bone folder and once again work that into the cover and remove any excess glue. And once we've done that, we can then start doing some finishing touches. So to start with, we're going to use some sandpaper and just sand the edges of our cover to make sure the edges are nice and flush. Once we've done that, we can then nick the corners. And then we can start to restain and polish our cover. So what I also like to do when finishing my products is to use some Talcano on the edges of my work, because that's going to give you a really nice finish. So once we've done polishing the edges, we can then recrease all the way around our notebook cover. And then finally, we can pop our notebook into its new cover. And so like I said, this technique works for pretty much all notebooks. And this is how I work out the sizes for the notebook covers that I have and what I make in the workshop. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you did, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe for more videos and tutorials, and I shall see you in the next video.